The campaign crunch is on as the first big contest in the Republican race for nominee close in. Joining us now is former South Carolina governor and Republican presidential hopeful Nikki Haley. Ambassador, great to see you again. Thanks for being here. I know he's a rival, but I just like to ask your opinion about what you think of all these blue states trying to take Donald Trump off the ballot.
Well, good morning and Happy New Year from Iowa. The first thing I'll say is this is, to me, is dangerous. We saw this during COVID, where government started telling people what to do, how to live, how to think, all of these things. And we saw this intrusion into what Americans need to have the freedom to do. And now you look at what's happening in these blue states, and you have individuals who are deciding who the American people should and shouldn't vote on. I will defeat Donald Trump fair and square. I don't need him thrown off the ballot. But if we open this door, you can't close it. And the Supreme Court needs to respond quickly before any more states do this, because you can't have people deciding. Right now, we're seeing too many elected officials decide who's good, who's bad, who's right, who's wrong. That is not your role. If you are a leader, your role is to put all the information out there, be as transparent as you can, and let the American people make decisions for themselves. And America's got to snap out of this, because this is more than about Donald Trump. This is more than about Republicans. This is about the fact that if they can start doing this to individuals, you're changing the entire face of democracy when you allow this to happen.
Yeah, it's without due process, we are all at risk. That is the cornerstone of our Constitution. I have to ask one question. I heard something about the Civil War this week and Nikki Haley, and I want to give you a chance to respond. But first, we had Ron DeSantis on, another rival of yours, on Fox. Believe it was yesterday. Let me roll tape and get you to respond. Roll it.
It was an incomprehensible word salad. I think she's trying to tell people what she thinks they may want to hear in the moment, rather than just say what the truth is. And you even hear this in some of her explanations now, where she's saying that she's talking about her truth. No. It's not your truth or my truth. It's the truth. And we need to be grounded in the truth. We got to throw this postmodernism out the window.
We don't want to hear somebody else talk about what you said. We want to hear you talk about what you said. Do you want to explain it?
Yes, of course. Ron has been desperate from the beginning. You should see the commercials he's doing in Iowa. Every one of them's a lie. Every fact checker has said it's wrong. But, when you're lying, you're losing. So Ron is desperate. We see that for what it is. I've done 150 town halls, more than that now, and we shake every hand. We answer every question, and I stay until the last person leaves. And we take questions from everybody, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, whoever shows up. We don't screen them. We let them ask whatever they want. And we had a question there. And yes, of course, the first thing I should have said was slavery. I completely agree with that. When you grow up in the South, slavery is a given. Like, when you think of the Civil War, it was about slavery. That's not, that's never been in question. And, you look at the fact, I'm a Southern governor who actually asked and got the Confederate flag to come down in front of the State House. So slavery, if you grow up in South Carolina, you know that that's a huge part of history, but you take it for the lesson that it is, which is, yes, that's a stain on our history, but where do we go with it from here? And that is, what is the role of government?
Right.
And what rights do individuals have, and what freedoms do they have? And we want to always fight for freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom for a person to do anything they want to do without government or another person getting in their way. That was if you went on and heard the rest of the explanation, that's what I was trying to say. But yes, I should have said slavery right away. Slavery
is the ultimate example of government taking away your personal rights. I mean, that is the worst.
That's right.
The worst example of how government could go. I want to get to the issues now. The world, as you well know, as former ambassador to the UN, is a very dangerous place right now. We got two wars. One in the Middle East, one in Ukraine, and China, Lord knows what they're going to do with Taiwan, and Iran. They may get a nuke one of these days. How would you make the world safer?
Well, first of all, your goal should always be to prevent war. And Joe Biden is not doing that. He has got one foot in, one foot out. He's putting his head in the sand, and our enemies smell blood in the water. I dealt with Russia, China, Iran every single day. I know how they think. The first thing we have to understand is if Ukraine wins, then China won't invade Taiwan. If Russia wins, Russia has said Poland and the Baltics are next. Those are NATO countries. That puts America at war. We have to prevent war. Giving Ukraine the equipment and ammunition to win is hugely important in doing that. I don't think we should ever give any country cash, friend or foe, because you can't follow it. I don't think we need to put troops on the ground, and the Ukrainians want to win this on their own. But don't ever forget that a win for Russia is a win for China.
By the way, you said
when
something.
When it comes to Israel.
Yeah, let me quickly. You said something very interesting. You said we shouldn't give cash to countries. We should give them goods. Makes a lot of sense. Has this administration been giving cash that's untraceable?
Yes, they have. And that's why the American people are distrustful. And that's not the way you need to go. You know what Joe Biden hasn't done is he hasn't told people why they should care about Ukraine. He hasn't told them that this is a way to prevent war from us having to send men and women overseas. My husband's deployed now. The last thing I want is for him to fight a war. And Joe Biden hasn't done a good job explaining it. You look at Israel and you see Israel is the tip of the spear when it comes to defeating terrorism. And you've got other candidates who say this shouldn't be personal. 33 Americans were butchered on that day. We have American hostages. Right now, there's a reason the Taiwanese want the U.S. and the West to support Ukraine, because they know if Ukraine wins, China doesn't invade Taiwan. There's a reason the Ukrainians want the U.S. and the West to support Israel, because they know if Iran wins, Russia wins. It's all connected.
I got to stop you there. We want to talk about the economy, the border. There's so many more issues. I think there will be time, though. You got to come back and talk more with us. We appreciate it. Stay safe on the campaign trail, please, and have a wonderful new year.
Thank you. Go to NikkiHaley.com. 16 days until the Iowa caucuses. We're excited.
All right. Thank you very much.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.